Hey Shakara, here's the video you requested of the Dow Jones weekly review. First off, we know that the indices do not open up until 9:30. Second, we need to know what setup are you hunting. Now, this is just my observation of what I would do. Okay. First off, I need to know what news do I have coming into my session. Now, there was no major red news out on Monday, but we did have some medium impact news at 8:30 and 11:30. Secondly, I need to know what's my daily signal because we are working from the higher time frame. Now, I'm utilizing the 5 minute time frame, but the time frame is irrelevant. So we had a market that closed in breakout on Friday, giving us our daily signal. Market closed below a previous day's low level. Now, when the new week begins to trade during the Asian session, we can see that the market also triggered shorts in the market once again. All right, giving us a signal on the day as well and immediately reverse back in the opposite direction. Now, depending on the setup that you are hunting, as we get into our New York session, we can see that 9:30 opens up, puts in a higher high. Then 9:35 gives us a strong pin hammer coming off of major round number of 46,850. At 9:40, you were able to partake in the continuation of the reversal for over 200-point move. Now, if you are utilizing the 15-minute time frame, you would not have taken this entry, okay? Because at this point, you're buying too high, all right? You're buying too high. This is 9:45, and look how close we are to our previous day's high level. So now if you're waiting on a reversal, okay, we want to look for a pump coil dump or a trap and shift setup, okay? So as you can see that this is our 10 a.m., but we can see that they did trigger longs into the market. Here's the 10 a.m., start of the 10 a.m. when this 4 hour candle begins. Now we need to pay attention to how is price going to behave at this level. Then we're waiting to see for price to confirm our short trade, okay, if that is what you are hunting, okay. So 15 minutes later, price is still behaving very strongly at this level. So all we do is wait for a pin hammer or engulfing. So we would just wait 15 minutes later. All right, 15 minutes later, 10:30. Okay, here's our entry. 10:25, price gives us an engulfing candle. Here's our entry for a nail and bell back to the downside because we are going against a higher time frame. Okay, we're going against the higher time frame. So this was a nail and bell over 200-point move. All right, so there was an opportunity for you to take a long and there was an opportunity for you to take a short trade, depending on the setup that you are hunting. Now, when it comes to day two, Tuesday, all right, we just repeat that same process, and we know that in our weekly template, that day two typically expands the range. Okay, we know that already. Day two typically expands the range, but now we have to go through and see what major red news do we have. Do we have any major red news out? So there was no major red news out on Tuesday, but we did have some medium impact news at 10 a.m. Okay, so we have our news event. Now, what daily signal did we have? So the daily signal that we had coming into Tuesday was a outside the daily signal where the market breached the previous day's low level and also breaches the previous day's high level. Okay, that was our daily signal. Now, how is price behaving once it gets into our session? As you can see, during that first hour, the market had already begun to expand the range because Tuesday typically expands the range, but we know we're not doing anything until after 9:30. Okay. Well, I'm not doing anything until after 9:30. So as you can see that the market also gave us a signal on the day where it breaches the previous day's high level, triggering longs into the market. 9:30 opens up. They come up with a 1, 2, 3. They engulf. So here's our shift. Okay. This is a trap and shift. They go up 1, 2, 3, giving us engulfing candle, shifting the market back down. But remember, we did have some medium impact news, all right, at 10 a.m. So if you wanted to wait until after 10 a.m., you can do so. But for me, with medium impact news, depending on the news, I would still take a trade before then. So you could have taken an entry here, okay, because we had our engulfing, they gave us our lower low, they pull it back, right? Here's an entry. Now, if you wanted to wait until after 10, when we had that medium impact news, this is the 10 a.m. candle, they pull it back. Now, once sellers begin to come back into the market, I will take a impulse entry, as it breaks this low of this candle. Okay, so I will also take an entry here and just collect my 200 points or 100 points, whatever you're going for. So depending on, that news event, you could have entered here, or if you wanted to wait until after the news event, you could have entered here. Okay, so that would have been the trade for Tuesday. Okay, now heading into Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday is day 3. Okay, but we also had FOMC on Wednesday. Now, so we had a bunch of news out on Wednesday, so we know that. But what daily signal did we have going into Free Cash Wednesday? There was no daily signal at the end of Tuesday, so no daily signal. Okay. Now you can see that the market did offer a pump and dump. Okay, pump and dump, but there was no daily signal. So we can see that right around our 10 a.m. club. All right, they did give us a signal on the day, but this was a no trade day. Okay, this is too late. No trade day on Wednesday. Plus, we had all that major red news out, so that was no trade day. Even though we did get a daily signal, but I'm not looking to trade on FOMC when it's too much major red news out. All right. So as we head into Thursday, okay, so Thursday is day 2 on the backside of the week. All right. So day 2 typically expands the range. So what major red news did we have out? So we had some major red news out at 8:30, and we had some medium impact news at 10 a.m. All right, so we have our news. What daily signal did we have? So we had a market that closed in breakout, all right, to the downside. All right, so we had a market that closed in breakout. Now, as you can see that as the day begins to trade, they also gave us a signal on the day, reaching the previous day's low level once again. So we have shorts that are driving this market. Now, depending on what setup are you hunting, we can see that this market breaks out, okay, as we get into our New York session, pulls back, give us a retest. Now, if you were looking for a continuation trade, pay attention to how price is behaving at this level. You get 1 rejection, 2 rejections, 3 rejections off of a major level. Okay, 2 rejections off of a major level. And this is doing our 10 a.m. club. Okay, so we had medium impact news at 10 a.m. Now, and also depending on your skill level. Now, for me, once I saw this 3rd rejection and this candle begins to, as sellers begin to sell off, okay, I would take a aggressive impulse entry as price gets to our major round number of the 00. So once price got about round here, okay, as we break this low of this candle, I will take an entry. That is just me. All right. I will have taken an entry here. But if you wanted to wait, okay, if you wanted to wait until let this candle close inside of the 20 EMA, you could have done so as well and taken an entry here for a nail and bell. Okay. So you had a market that offered it is a pump and dump, but it's a breakout pullback continuation if that is the setup that you're hunting. Okay. It is a pump and dump, all right, but it is a continuation trade setup coming off of the previous day's low level if that is the setup that you are looking for. All right. Now, heading into Free Cash Friday, okay, what major red news did we have? Okay, what major red news did we have? So we had no news out on Free Cash Friday. Okay, so what is the daily signal? At the close of Thursday, there was no daily signal. Okay, now, but as the market begins to trade on Friday, we can see that the market did breach the previous day's low level once again. Okay, we had a breach of the previous day's low level, giving us a signal on the day. Now, how is price behaving in our session? How is price behaving once it gets into our session? So we can see they gave us a signal on the day, breached the previous day's low, and immediately reversed. They give us a coil heading into our session. 9:30 opens up, puts in a higher high. Now, at this point, we're just waiting. And also, what setup are you hunting? Are you looking for reversals or are you looking for a sell high setup? Okay. So I'm just waiting. If this was me, I'm just waiting. I know that we're in a downtrend. Structurally, the market is in a downtrend. So I would be looking for sales because based off of structure, this market is trending down. We breached the previous day's low level. They pump back up. They coil sideways. How is price behaving when it gets into my session? Price pumps back up. Now I'm just waiting on time rotation. 9:45, they give a nice rejection. Okay. But this is not a engulfing or a pin hammer candle for me. So I would just wait. Next candle, seller step in. We got some nice momentum here as we get into our 10 a.m. club, 9:55. I will be taking this trade. Okay. That is just me. I will take this trade because I'm seeing that price pumped up. They gave a nice rejection, and I'm going along with the trend. I got some confirmation here. Here's my entry. Okay, I'm entering here. This is 5 minutes before 10 a.m. And I'm just taking the nail and bell back to the previous day's low. So those were the setups that I would have taken this past week on the Dow Jones. So hope this video was helpful for you. Like always, work hard, stay disciplined, be patient, and be the reason someone smiles. Peace and love. Have a good one.